y'all ain't over there talking about me.
A.O.I. is back. I see that. I seen that.
Yeah.
Man, I just had to go through so much shit to get this motherfucker back live, bro. I don't know what the
What
hell.
happened? Yeah, I was wondering what you was over there doing, bro. What's going on?
Man,
Oh, y'all ain't over there talking about me.
trying to get this motherfucker. Hold on, how can I get out of wire?
A.O.I. is back. I see that. I seen that.
Oh,
Customized streaming service.
all right, there we
I
go.
gotta put y'all down.
There we go. That's
Man.
cool because I had to do it through the YouTube thing, which everybody liked doing it through. So I had to set the thumbnail and all of that shit. So I mean, it ain't shit, and that meant I get to go back live on RBG World. I think I found out. It's just some fucked up me going live straight from the Zoom. It's all good. We back in this bitch.
We back in this thing. Yeah, it is.
So y'all can see my screen?
Hold up. What's on your screen?
Huh?
What's on your screen?
Can y'all see it?
Hold up. No. Unless you doing the Angela Yee thing. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. This is what I was talking about. See, he explained exactly what I was explaining earlier.
Hey, don't cut it on though, because I think we back live.
Huh?
Don't cut on the sound, because I think we back live. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
I think we back live though.
Yeah, we back live. You talking about him having his own cryptocurrency and shit?
Yeah, he was explaining how I was explaining earlier about how the value of the dollar is and everything else. So he basically explained how it works, of how everything. So that's how he got his own cryptocurrency. Like the value into the dollar, like nothing backs the dollar of its value. It's just a dollar. So when you got enough people to back that, it brings the value.
Right.
That's what he's saying in the video. So he explaining what I was explaining. So that way he you know what I'm saying, he's explaining from his point of view how he explained it, but he explaining what I was explaining.
No, I get what you
So
saying. You saying that. Straight up.
yeah. Oh, we back live though?
Yeah, we back.
Yes, sir.
We back.
Okay.
What they talking about?
Okay.
I'm right here.
So what happened to the live stream?
Oh no, it said it was taken down because it got struck for some content or some shit. That's the live stream.
What it was?
You said what?
Name of the live stream. Oh no, this was roast session, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
roast
said
session.
It said I got struck for something. The video got removed.
I don't want to land.
That's not what you don't make.
Oh.
Damn.
That's why it changed.
It in the motherfucker.
Struck again.
So we gotta be careful about the content, huh?
Nah,
Got some content watchers.
Yeah. I think I shared too much of solo shit for Lex.
Say what?
I think I shared too much of Lex and solo content over there on SVD.
Oh hell no! You gotta be kidding.
You said you shared too much of their content?
I think they struck me because I watched the whole debate over here. Like I could think of. They ain't gonna strike me. They ain't gonna strike me for no music or nothing because I ain't monetized.
Hey. In YouTube a lot. said, and comment
Hold on, somebody got it now. What'd you say?
that YouTube allow you to commentate on shit, nigga. I motherfucker dispute that shit.
I mean, but if it's their content, they don't want it on my channel. That's their right.
No. I'm saying YouTube got channels where you strictly, you know what I'm saying,
No, but
commentate.
if they say they don't want you comment on their shit, you can't put
Oh,
their
they
shit.
can take your shit down.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we know who did that shit. Cause I know the motherfucker who content really is wouldn't mind getting some traction to his shit. So on some real shit, we know who the fuck that is. Who got access to the shit, but it ain't they shit. Who's the mystery hater?
Ain't
Let
hard to
the fuck
tell.
shit begin.
It ain't hard to tell.
Yiddy.
Yiddy. Them niggas wanna be us. Be us. Cause every time they look around, they see we up. We up. Can't help it that these niggas wanna be us. But we something really seem like onomatopoeias. Mm, 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 mm. Get this goddamn food, man. Man, I still can't believe, man. Bill Withers, though. Is anybody on?
Yeah, we in this motherfucker.
Yep.
Y'all can't hear me? Bernard.
I hear you.
Cut it,
Yeah,
young
in the
man.
building.
Cut it, young man.
Where?
Get him.
I want to read. I want to read. I'm finna buy me a bong, man.
I'm doing laundry at 9 o'clock at night.
I've been doing laundry too. I ain't had no damn quarters. Sure ain't had no damn quarters.
I had on mopped earlier. That's what I had to do all earlier today when I got back. Clean up the crib.
Motherfucker Sean outside barbecue. You see him, baby? Huh? Yeah. This what I'm finna get. Watch this. Damn, man. This some whole ass shit. Let me see. Let me see. Get off to them tobacco all together. I mean them pipes. I mean them cigars all together. Let me see. Probably saw these motherfuckers.
I have to be careful what kind of detergent I use. That shit be making me itchy.
Edgy. Like edgy. Man, what is it? Hey, look at him. Melanated in a mother.
Yeah, you know this, man. He going ham over this motherfucker.
Look like a young Wichita. I think this the site right here. This how I'm finna roll. I ain't gonna bullshit. They just
Peace, peace.
peace. Blue in the
My phone
building.
had damn died earlier, bro. I was so busy I couldn't even fucking turn my shit back on when I got it charged up.
And,
I'm like, shit. Finna hurry up and get my ass up out of here, bro. I got my ass handed to me.
gave it to you.
Goddamn.
Yeah, you done been in there all night.
Hell yeah, bro. It's been non-stop. Everybody and their mama order something. I'm like, shit. On a custom live streaming service. Why I say that? You notice what it say at the top right? Where it say live, it don't say YouTube, it say live on a custom live
Yeah,
streaming service.
because I I it, I got struck on my last video, so I can't go live straight from Zoom. I had to actually set it up through YouTube, and so I had to get the streaming
You
key from
got
YouTube.
struck from the last video.
Yeah, I had to get the streaming key from YouTube, put it in the Zoom, and in order to do that, you got to do custom.
What they struck you for?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking because I watched the Minister Howe debate. It had to be somebody who struck me personally, like last.
No, you know what? It was that ether beat. It probably was that ether beat.
Was that
Oh
last?
no,
That wasn't even
no,
last.
that was that. No, that was on
My
SVDL. So
channel,
no,
my
no.
channel now, my channel now monetized. I could play people beats and shit. I could play copyrighted shit on here.
Uh, that's just some hate then.
Yeah, your double master,
Yeah, fuck nigga hate.
your double master teacher.
Nah, he wouldn't have flagged you.
Did this shit at the
I know
same
some folks that would
Oh,
have.
solar.
It probably
I
would
don't
pass.
even want to say. I
It
don't even
probably
want to
would
say their
pass the
name.
time. It probably would pass
Nah,
the
he
time.
wouldn't.
Over here watching that nigga debate.
He wouldn't have did it, but I know who would have.
Damn, that's crazy.
And got a team of folks that'll do it.
Damn,
I
that's
mean, professional trolls, bro. I don't even mention his name, goddamn.
I could dig it.
oh,
Just
Judah
know
Nate.
that there's some real niggas out here in these streets that'll pull up on your fuck ass you keep playing around.
Yeah.
Real niggas don't like playing. And there's a team of us out here, you hear me? They just pull up for no reason. Like, where you at, bitch? Pull up. Give a fuck. Oh, you in Japan? I got people out there too. Tighten up. You make my baby cry, I'm gonna make you cry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, we in this motherfucker.
Man, I'm about to roll up some more of this good shit. What y'all niggas finna do?
Shit, I rolled up all my blunts for the day. I got about 3 left. Shit.
Alright, alright. What you rolling up, Blue? I know you wear is good glue at. Blues.
Yeah, as soon as I get up out of here, bro. I'm talking about I'm rushing to get up out of this bitch. No. I'm finna hurry up and wrap this shit up so I can talk shit and goddamn what you call it. I seen too. Brandon knew exactly who it was. He told it straight to Hiroshima.
You feel me? We would be the real Nagasaki on that ass. Fuck you, me. What are you talking about, Wicky? Leave the little niggas alone. Leave him alone. Wicky. Wicky.
He on their head.
I already know. That's why I'm talking to her like Wicky. Wicky.
What the hell? What are you talking about?
I tried to let
Leave.
y'all live.
I'm
Y'all
trying to
niggas
get
be playing with me.
I'm trying to get you to leave my little homies alone. I know you over there trying to get their ass laid down. Laid down.
Little homie.
Oh, the little one already knocked out. He ain't
Okay,
last
okay.
in the he ain't even last in the last round.
Oh, well, shit, the one that's left, he ain't no problem. You can let him go and lay himself down.
Yeah, I done took all the toys from his ass. He just laying in the bed watching TV.
Yeah, he the chill one. Shit, you let him chill out. See
Yeah,
how
that's the
it's
big
doing, so
brother.
he can tell the little one how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, the big brother, he on chill
What's
mode.
a recycler, man? A smoking recycler.
Hmm?
Oh, what?
A recycler. A pipe. Oh, it's a weed. A recycler. They call it a recycler.
Man, fuck that ass wild.
Oh, that's what you dab on. Oh, hold on, let me see. Oh no, okay.
This shit look like it's finna be good though. Oh, pesto soup. Let me get these beans going. Shit. Fuck that.
Running from the police. Cause real niggas run the streets. Nigga, look at how I know. I'm running from the police. Cause real niggas run the streets. Nigga Pac, set our dumb ass up. Baby, you got my card? My card. Nah. Today, last night, today. The fucking right. The fucking little homies. No, I told you it was in my fucking hoodie. It was in my pocket of my hoodie. Thought you got it. Right.
And the court shit full of shit. I tried to sign up for the damn thing so I could see the court system of calendars and shit. That
It's
shit
all
keep giving me,
bullshit.
but they keep giving me a damn error, bro. They must know I peep game on all that shit. Every time I even went in the courthouse, they on man
I'm gonna
shit.
be right back, big bro.
All right, for sure, God.
I don't even like being in no courthouse, bro.
Damn.
Shit make me have hives and shit. But shit, they know they can't talk to me any kind of way in no fucking courthouse. That's whatever. They thought I was a dumb nigga when I walked in that bitch. Ooh, I want one of those so damn bad.
What is it?
It's an Allen Heath mixer. Allen and Heath mixer. That bitch so beautiful. That's a big ass mixing board. That bitch digital, all digital, with a analog uh control system input as well. So that bitch go both ways. Plus the bitch got Wi-Fi.
Nah.
Like you can that bitch Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. My son in there singing to his damn self right now.
That's him.
That's him. He do that every night. If he don't do that, if he quiet, he gonna come right in here.
Yeah, dog.
He been doing that ever since he was like he was real little, like real little. Like he'll sit there, he'll start humming to himself, and he just kind of just like as he grow, he just singing to himself. He got his own song and everything. I should show y'all how he get on them damn keyboards. I'm trying to get him right.
Yeah.
If this damn washing machine don't hurry the fuck up, that shit making too much noise. All right, so ain't nothing in that I want. Uh, Trying to find me a chaotic eyeball.
A chaotic eyeball.
Yeah, it's
What?
a microphone filter. It covers the microphone, so you won't really need a mic guard. It's like a microphone booth. for the microphone. It just covered the microphone itself. I see one for $200. Man, come on, man, y'all tripping. I know I get one for lower than that. He gotta make noise. He's scared of the dog. That's all that is. He just waiting on me to come in there. As soon as I come in there, he quiet as hell. Let's see.
Fuck that. I'm
I'm
back.
doing my research right now of what the cost is of every state,
Mm.
so I know the actual cost of the actual land itself.
All right, my bad. I had to do some shit. Yeah. Said the motherfucker COVID-19 virus contains nanobots. Nanobots are in the building.
So I know the actual cost of the actual land itself.
Yeah. Oh shit. Find my black with my baby. I just ordered a phone.
And just when I seen this shit, bro, guess what I just found? Trump wants to buy Greenland.
That's a good deal. I mean, but if you got the two, what's the name? That's a good deal. And you got the one big plate on top. You got the one big plate on top. Where did you get it? At the top. I said, what? The weed, the weed is sit like this, and the thing be down there. When you set it on top, that's if everybody sit down. Because what they do, they put the tobacco on top, and they got a burning rock. It's a circle rock, and you set it on fire like a charcoal. And you set it on top, and it burns. For a little while till you want to put it out. That's the Uber shit. This the one on. What, baby? Okay, bet. I got you. Just copy all that shit. And this one, these parts right here, you put them in the freezer. And so when you hit it, it don't burn your chest or nothing. They say you don't even feel nothing. Get your fat ass out my I got some on the phone. What? Oh man.
Yeah, Miss Wall.
What'd you say, big bro?
I went out while I'm looking up the cost of state lands. I ran into Trump wanting to buy Greenland.
Mm. You want to buy green?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Place full of ice. I guess they gonna think it's gonna melt. He trying to blow fire on me or some shit.
Hmm.
Down, round, round. Yeah, motherfucker struck my shit. But we back, though. Oh, my shit look like. I need to move. I need to wipe my shit off, though. My shit look crazy. There you go. That's a little better, I think. That's a little bitty better. I think. Hmm.
Okay. I'm looking at Florida. It says 38,392. I know that's not correctly correct. 38,000 in land. Georgia, 37,000. Hawaii is 4,000. I wonder what the hell they was thinking when they was naming the state Idaho, Idaho. Okay, Florida as a whole is 21.3 million in population. Okay, so if it's 21.3 million, that's in 2018. 11.6 million acres. That's more than 11.6 acres. Y'all ain't gonna tell me that,
Which part?
huh? No, I was like, well, oh, here we go. Found your ass. I was looking at how much US land really worth and things like that. I knew I was right on that shit because if the total acres of 62.3 million is the eighth largest,
Mm.
just looking at the numbers on a state, it would be in the millions to buy a state. So we have to calculate the numbers because each land is starts off at 1,000 plus each, like 1,500. What was that, bro?
Some shit I'm trying. Some
It
shit.
asked me to join breakout.
Yeah, I ain't never did that shit before. I don't really know what it is. I'm just fucking with the settings. Peace, Big O. What's good with you, man? That's crazy. You can share your screen.
My phone screen, yeah.
Share something on your screen right quick. I want to see something. Let me see.
Okay, I see yours.
You see both of them?
Nah, I see yours.
Hmm?
Yeah, it won't let me start mine.
Let me see. That's crazy. Multiple participants can share simultaneously.
I get what's that supposed to be the breakout?
Nah, that's on this one. Both of us supposed to be able to share at the same time. No, that's cool. Cool. Don't worry about it.
Okay, Florida's 42.083 million acres.
They said they on Slim Thug head because he went out for a drive and he got the coronavirus. So he be on some bullshit.
What they did, don't lock them up.
Let me see.
Damn.
Nah, they I guess they was getting at him on IG or some shit.
Oh, so I just seen the cover.
Your boy Bumpy Chills got some bars he dropped.
It's your boy. Bump chill. I'm in the honeycomb hideout, B. If you didn't know. It's the Captain Crunch. Crunch. You know what it is. Listen. Whether you get it in the face of the dome, I grab you, shake, jerk, and get you shaking baby syndrome. My mark deep in they infamous, the guns will bust, till you become earthly crust, illustrious. Cause of the nuts we bust, nickels, dime quarters, and bucks, and girls we trust. That's why these rappers keep their women in cuffs. Cause if it's your girl or my girl, I give two fucks. Chill up like you quarterback for the Colts. Pull got him running like Usain Bolt. And y'all got the nerve to ask me if I vote Hillary, Trump, fuck it, there's no hope. And fuck boys talk about man shit, Mayweather movement. Y'all can't land shit, pulling out your girl like the hat and a rabbit. Treat her like a horror flick and start to stab it. Out the
Come back if you can waste your time.
I got something I'm gonna send to you, Swall.
What you got?
I got the info. Info.
Can I turn my lights back on? Why you have me cut? Fuck. Wow, wow, wow. What you gonna do? Uh-oh. I heard these niggas did look for me. Move. Here I go. Here I go. I know.
Now this shit wouldn't take forever to load the fuck up.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It won't take forever to load up. It be acting like that sometimes. You know, it's a mark. It be acting like a mark sometimes. Move.
So looking at this the numbers on like, and as an example, like the state of Florida is 42.6 million acres. It turned out to be at least about $1 billion to for like the whole land,
Mm.
like a billion plus. So the bigger the land, the more it costs. So that pretty much determine like where I can look at to see what numbers look better to where it stretched from. Because anything that's close to water costs more.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, thanks for watching. So I wanted to kind of sort of put some things in perspective for the newly conscious people. It's a lot of people who are leaving religion and coming into the understanding of our true history and becoming conscious and wanting to, be involved in everything that entails and understand what they need to do to further their education and their spiritual journey here. And a lot of people don't really get the system. And I have a lot of videos where I really get into this stuff, but I really wanted to talk about a couple of things because of recent events. Everybody has already went through the whole H&M thing and talked about that, and Donald Trump calling African countries and Haiti shithole countries and what have you. That has been talked about, but a lot of people don't realize that we have to really stop paying attention to this kind of information and stop fueling it with our energy. We really got to get away from this stuff and realize what we are seeing is a part of an agenda, a part of a trap that is basically using our energy to fuel their agenda. So with the whole H&M thing, it's just, common sense for people to understand. One, they're not stupid. H&M is not stupid. It's not a stupid company. They understood before they launched the ad that it was wrong and that it would be controversial and it would cause issues. And they did it anyway for that very reason. And, the amount of people that, edited the photo and reposted and, retweeted and what have you is staggering, especially when it comes to, African American people that, it's showing that we are willing to go ahead and use our energy and our efforts to, get behind something that is, there to hinder us rather than to understand what it's about. We should be looking at this stuff and not being surprised at all anymore. I don't understand how a lot of Black people seem outraged about a lot of the things we have been seeing from, white America, with these college kids coming out doing the things that they have done. And everything we've been seeing from these corporations and companies, we should not be surprised about anything after just looking at our history and understanding that, remember, we had slavery, which is just, enough said right there. You had babies fed, to alligators. They fed babies to alligators, Black babies. So there's nothing that any white person can do or this system can do that will surprise me at all. You can feed a baby to an alligator, there's nothing that you wouldn't do. So we lend our energy and our time and effort to a lot of these ploys and a lot of this stuff to fuel an agenda to get the reaction that they want from us, that they're using to gauge us and use that, information to move forward as far as their agenda. So when we spend all this time and energy and effort talking about stuff that we know is normal, that we should not be shocked by. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what are we supposed to do? Ignore it, not talk about it at all? And yeah, exactly, ignore it. And as long as we do not ignore it and do not retweet it and repost it and talk about it and try to be the first one to post it or say something about it to get likes and comments and all that kind of stuff, as long as we ignore this stuff and keep doing what we're supposed to do as far as moving forward as a people and as a person, you personally, I talked about before how, we are not really going to unite. It's just not going to happen. I don't see it happening because, we have too many religions. We have too many ideas. People got too many opinions and egos. And us coming together in this kind of society, the way things is in the Black community with the kind of culture that we have, playing somebody today is cool. When I was growing up, you played somebody, it's a fight. But now any little thing that you post, trying to play somebody or one up somebody is like the new cool thing for some reason. Like people really get some kind of buzz off of trying to play you, especially on social media. And people get some kind of, buzz trying to one up you in anything. That's just how it is. And we do this to ourselves, to each other, our own people. You have, even in my situation and other situations, you have people who trying to put out information to help people. And the very people that they're trying to help are attacking them with just meaningless, stupid stuff. It's like, what is the point of you doing this? It's for a like, it's for a comment. So, they have us in a very, messed up situation. And we are feeding that situation by adding to the promotion of the very agenda, the very plan that they have hatched to hinder us. So a lot of you may be thinking, well, what's the whole point of the whole H&M thing? What is that all about? What is the whole point about the whole, shithole remarks and everything that Trump has been saying that's, racial and controversial throughout his, term? And that's the point you got to really pay attention to. See, one of the things I wanted to see first was what would be Trump's agenda? Because when you do the research, when you pay attention, every president has their agenda. They have their war on something. They're going after something. And if one president doesn't get it done, he gets another term. He doesn't get it done then, the next president comes in and picks up where that president leaves off, which we have seen clearly with Trump picking up with Syria after Obama, which Syria was Obama's job that he did basically almost accomplish, but, Trump finished it off. But, we see them going after our weapons and going after so many different things. It's so much that they're going after that America is not aware of, and people are not aware of because they are not paying attention. one of the reasons for this whole thing with H&M and everything else we have been seeing as far as censorship is for that reason. They're coming after the internet. I've been talking about this for months now. And just pay attention to the things that Trump has done and has said. His job during his term as president is to get some kind of something taken away from the internet, which he has already done that, as YouTubers have seen. And it's the censorship. Now, you had last year, even in September, remember, after that bombing in London, there was something that happened in London when Trump, he basically came out and said that we need to basically cut off the internet or, use it differently. He tweeted this. And there was this whole thing about the internet. And then you see, even before that, we had the issue with Trump wanting to censor the media and make this whole, panel, this whole thing to where they decide what's actual news. And that was stemming from the election when they said that, it was hacked and, it was rigged and, the Russians did this and that. And they were using that to try to push for some kind of legislation against the internet. And we had to deal with that. Then we're looking at net neutrality, as I did a whole video on that, talking about that, and them basically trying to, push the internet under corporations and let corporations deal with it, which many corporations would spring up and the internet will no longer be free, and they will be able to censor and control what domains have, strength, and what domains are strong and puts out good signals and, are able to upload and download fast and everything like that, which would be crazy because if you have a site that they do not like, they can make your bandwidth, they can make your whole entire page just slow, super slow. So if they were able to control that, that would be like, done deal for anybody that's trying to put out anything on the internet that is not under their control. So, Trump's whole thing, and all the stuff that you've been seeing, it's about that. And what has been going on ever since, we've been seeing all these racial slurs and issues and stuff against African Americans, and we've been complaining. Everybody's been complaining and talking, and we've been protesting and all kinds of stuff. And it's exactly what they want. It's so they can do what they have always done. They give us the problem, and they're going to give us the solution. And the solution is going to be, well, guess what? Since you are offended by this, we can't show this no more. And I was talking about on Instagram, if you follow me, on YouTube, on Facebook as well, I posted a picture where I was trying to boost a post that was anti-Christian. It's a video that was circulating about this dude trying to freaking slide off the balcony on like a zip line in church. It's hilarious. So I wanted to see if I could boost this video, to actually pay to boost the video. I pay YouTube monthly to advertise, for my channel, for my videos, my DVDs. So I said, let me see if I can pay YouTube to boost this. Pay Facebook to boost this post. And Facebook wouldn't even allow me to pay to boost that post, to boost a post that's already circulating for free, but they wouldn't allow me to pay to boost it further. So that tells you something. And they said no based upon, it being offensive to other people. But it's already allowed on YouTube. So why can't I pay to boost it when it's already allowed on Facebook, excuse me? So why can't I pay to boost it? And that's the thing. That's what's going on. And if you're a YouTuber, if you're a person who does this type of stuff, you are seeing it. You can see that they're stopping every little thing. I think almost every week, almost every day for a while, I get an email from YouTube saying that they basically censored one of my videos or they took down one of my videos. It's happening over and over again. And I put up there, I showed you guys that they censored why did the black slaves get the Bible, that video, which was like almost at 500,000 views. And then all of a sudden, it's censored. So you can still watch it. It's just censored. And it has like a freaking, disclaimer there. So this is what they're doing. This is what they're headed towards. Just like Facebook said, no, you cannot promote this video because it's offensive to people. This is what's going to happen. Everything is going to be offensive. You can't post this because it's going to offend black people. You can't post this because it's going to offend Arabs and Muslims. You can't post this because it's going to offend white people. And that's the main thing. See, now everything has come so touchy-feely, and everything is about, offending people. When we're seeing all these issues and everything popping up in the media about offensive language and everything like that, it is not user friendly, or it's not advertiser friendly content. Remember that whole thing I talked about for YouTube? It's not advertiser friendly. So they don't want you posting it because it's going to offend people, and advertisers don't want to offend people. And this is what they're doing. That's what it's headed towards. It's going to create a censorship. But the problem with that is it's going to hinder anybody that's trying to put out any truth, especially in regards to African history, African American history. So if you want to put out something that has to do with, Black history, Black Wall Street or slavery or anything like that, guess what? It's going to be deemed offensive. Oh, you can't put this out because it's going to be offensive to white folks. You can't talk about this history because it's going to be offensive to white folks. And this is what it's going to come down to, and they're going to use this to somehow censor what we do. The good thing about this is it is so much backlash about any type of internet censorship from everybody. And that's one of the things that is going to be very hard for them to do, but they're going to keep pushing it, just like they're going to keep pushing the whole gun thing. We're going to keep seeing things that is, leaning towards censorship for the internet, issues that's going to happen, things that's going to break out, and they're going to go ahead and try to present the solution, which is going to be some kind of internet censorship. Same thing with the guns. We're going to keep seeing these, so-called terror attacks and these shootings, these mass shootings, until they get some kind of legislation that they want for, taking away our guns. And that's what it's about. The whole H&M thing is just part of that. People are offended. You can't post that ad, and it's we asking for exactly what we do not want. And that's what's going to happen by us, especially Black folks, feeding into this stuff and sharing it and posting it and, just trying to get likes and comments. We are adding to our own destruction. We have to stop this. As soon as we stop it and just leave it alone and look at it like, whatever, and move on, this is how we fight back. This is how we do something. The more we keep putting our energy and consciousness towards their agenda and fueling it and helping it, the more it's going to hinder us in the end. So we got to really be mindful of what they putting out and stop looking at every single thing that Trump does and Trump says and getting all crazy offensive about it. We can't really do nothing about the religious people and the unconscious people. I'm speaking to conscious people and to newly conscious folks. You know who you are, but for you guys, it's important for you guys to understand that and to try to pass that kind of information along to people who might not be conscious, and let them know, like, this is what they want us to do. You have a lot of people who still don't get it. A lot of people still trust in this government. A lot of people still trust in what the media put out. If the media is putting out anything, there's a reason behind it. They own it. Plain and simple. We sit and we complain about being oppressed. Everybody keep complaining about being oppressed and how the system, the government owns everything, and how white people got more money than everybody else and everything like that. And we see what they control and what they have, and then we look at what they're doing and being shocked about it. What are you shocked about? They're doing exactly what we know they are doing and what we are complaining about. It's crazy. They're trying to hinder us and oppress us. So when they do something, what is the shock? What is the shock? It's like, when you react to something and you are falling into that, that trap. Somebody's trying to get a reaction out of you. So when you react, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished for them. So this is what we're doing, and what we got to realize, that our reaction shouldn't be. If you know somebody's about to jump out the bushes and scare you, why do you go and get scared? You see them there, they're going to scare you. And it's like, you still get scared when they jump out the bushes. You still go, And you see them the whole time. And it's basically what we're doing. We know they're about to jump out the bushes. We know something's going to come up. We can't react to it. We can't react. We got to keep going, and don't let it bother us. Plain and simple. If you as a conscious person is doing what you're supposed to be doing as far as being successful and bettering your life, help out who you can help out. But, don't really complain and worry about people who are not conscious. It's just going to create problems. Just take care of yourself. If we all as individual Black people took care of ourselves, if we're conscious, we took care of ourselves, been successful, become successful in our own right, then that will take care of all the other problems. So we got to remember and keep in mind that that's the main thing that's trying to hinder us from is being successful. We've seen, throughout history, even with Black Wall Street, going up to Marcus Garvey and the civil rights movement and everything else. Every step we have taken towards success as a people has been, thwarted by them. They have did something to hinder us as a people, coming together and being successful as a group. Unity is one of the things that we really fear the most from us. But, as individuals, we can do what we're supposed to do one at a time. Not one at a time, but, one at the same time. Just as individuals, get your shit together, do what you're supposed to do, become successful, and stop having that mindset that you're going to work for your oppressors for the rest of your life and retire and get some kind of pension and what have you. A lot of people are just in these positions where they are forced to work and they don't see an out. A lot of people are not actively seeking an out because they don't know how to get out. They don't know what to do. And this is part of the problem that fits into the whole self-hate and the whole problem we have with unity as Black people, because we see things that we want in our life from other people, and instead of us congratulating or helping out or doing something, we hate because we can't have it. Black folks hate because they don't know how to get it. They want it. They don't know what to do. So it's hate, and it's been building up for a long time, and we see, so much, hate come from the Black community towards other Black people that is not, what we feel, should be successful as a Black person. So, if you're not famous, a celebrity, an actor, what have you, and you're doing something in the hood, or you're doing something that's just getting money, but you're not, famous, it just seems like we gravitate towards hating these people. And yeah, celebrities get hate and everything as well, but you have more people wanting to be like them, than hate them. And that's the issue. We can't come together and really help each other out the way we should because of, self-doubt and, issues that we have, internally as a person as far as success. So we got to look at that and understand that that's the main thing that they want to hinder from us, which is why we should push more for success more than anything else. Plain and simple. Stop worrying about what they're talking about, what they're doing. Be successful. Get your money up. Get your skills up. Do what you got to do to be successful. That should be your only drive, your only goal. At least raise successful kids. If you can't put the time and effort in yourself, put it into your child so your child can grow up and do something and, be successful. That works as well. So, it's been their plan for the longest. So we got to be mindful, again, that this is the main thing they want to hinder with us is success. And they have been doing it for a long time very well, which is why we had to get the whole affirmative action thing. And people don't understand about the Rooney Rule. They've been talking about that lately in the NFL, about the whole Rooney Rule with, they have to make sure they interview a minority candidate before they hire somebody as a head coach in NFL. If they violate that, it's like a fine or something for the team. So they got to interview a minority to be hired as the head coach, because for a long time, they just didn't hire Black folks as coaches. We all know this. And a lot of people don't realize you had the first African-American head coach in football was in the 1920s. 1921, I believe it was. I think it was Fritz Pollard, who was the first Black coach in the football league. And he was a coach for a while. And of course, this around that time when they were still taking over America. And that was one of the changes that, of course, they had to make, was to get him out of there. And we didn't get another Black head coach until I think the 80s. It was Art Shell in 1989 that we got as, the next Black head coach. So long, big gap in between, Black head coaches in the NFL, which is crazy. But that's in place. And of course, affirmative action has been in place for a while, and that's the same thing, because you have so many people in these corporations and in this system that just don't want to hire qualified African Americans to work for their companies, so much so that they had to make this law because it became so obvious. And when things like this happen, when it's so obvious that they want to push us out as Black folks, it causes us to unite, which is why they put these laws in place to keep that from happening. But, we really have to realize that we can't get caught up. Politics, media, just Don't get caught up in the stuff. I have seen so many senators and congressmen give passionate, fiery speeches, cussing out the president, cussing out members in the cabinet, cussing out congressmen and other senators and people that have, political jobs or government jobs that's supposed to be helping the people and are not doing so. And they get cussed out, they get chewed out, but nothing changes. And they make sure we all see it. And people, they pass it around and, tweet about it and talk about it, but nothing changes. That's the main thing. And it's one of these things that they do to make you believe that it's people in Congress and in the Senate fighting for you, for your best interest. It's all WWE. It's all smoke and mirrors because nothing ever changes. And they have been doing this every year, all the time, but nothing gets done. And that's the thing, we got to realize, again, these people are not going to do anything. They're there to get along, plain and simple. They're going to talk their crap, say what they say, but when it comes time to vote, they know where they're going. They're going against the people. They're going to vote for whatever the administration wants. And then they're going to talk bad about it, but then at the end of the day, the administration's going to get what it wants. It's a game. It's a game. And we don't see any real things being done that benefits us. The student loan issue, the minimum wage issue, these are real things that need to be fixed and addressed that don't get addressed. They just, we arguing about H&M, but just people starving to death. Arguing about Kaepernick taking a knee, but you have vets starving to death. So this is how they turn the attention away from stuff that really matters, and now we focus on stuff that don't really matter, and the issue never gets addressed. Like what Kaepernick was taking a knee for still has not been addressed. The media hasn't come out and talked about it. NFL, nobody. It's not really addressing the issue, the main issue that sparked all this. So when you pay attention, even stemming from the Kaepernick issue, it has always been something dealing with, offending the people. You're offending the troops, offending the flag, offending the country. You're offending black people, you're offending Muslims. And they put in the Oval Office the king of offensiveness. We don't care what he say, and everything that comes out his mouth should be censored, and it's all gearing towards we need some kind of censorship going on. So if you're going to censor the president, you can censor anybody. And we're asking for exactly what we do not want. So if you just ignore the shit, don't tweet about it, don't share it, don't talk about it. No, that's hard to do for a lot of people, but if you're conscious, it's not really that hard. Let it go. You talk one-on-one personally about it, that's fine. But as far as giving them, statistics and helping their numbers out and seeing where they should go with next week or next month's, bullshit, don't even get involved with that. Anybody that's believing the news media is just crazy. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So for a lot of you newly conscious people that's really getting away from religion and starting to see what's going on and starting to see that this whole thing is a part of an agenda and it's all, bullshit. It's not what you think it was. You got to really pay attention to that first. Because if you want to believe that, the government has been taken over, the system is corrupt, then you would have to honestly believe that, of course, they would get the media before anything else. They would take control of the biggest tools that controls the public and controls information before they can really, hatch their plan, which is why they want to get their hands on the internet, because it's now their biggest tool. So, of course, only America can destabilize countries and then, talk shit about the people that they have displaced and destroyed their homes and killed their family members trying to seek refuge, in America. That's crazy. And, without Africa, the rest of the world would be messed up. And a lot of people are ignorant as to the numbers and effect about how much we get from Africa and the things we get from Africa that really affects our day to day, like, your cell phones and those crystals that's in your phone that come from Africa, that without those crystals, you can't network, you can't, send signals from throughout your phone. Your phone just won't work correctly without these crystals, without these stones and, gold, diamonds, a lot of, oil, things that we export from Africa. So to call Africa a shithole country, if he said that, because we don't know, it's no soundbite, it's, they said he said it, but we understand, like, it's bullshit, of course. And they have destabilized so many countries in Africa and around the world, other places as well, to then, Trump to protest and, to have an issue about Mexicans coming into America when, Mexicans basically was in this land before them. And history is replete with the story about, Hidalgo and the whole treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the whole thing with what happened in the American-Mexican War and everything like that. They got jerked out of the land, plain and simple. I've talked about this before, how they jerked the Mexicans out of like the whole entire ass of America when you pay attention. And now it's like, we murdered you, we stole your land, and now we're going to call you criminals and immigrants. And this is basically what they do. We understand that. But we know that, as I said, is just put out there to cause controversy, to, get people to just be more on board with what we have been seeing from Trump about this whole wall and everything else. You got the TV show Border Wars is egging that on, and video surfaced with the dude who's supposed to have killed 2 cops. He was an immigrant, and he was like, I wish I would have killed more cops. That's another thing. They're going to keep pushing all this stuff. They're going to cause us to accept what they're going to do, and it's just how it is. But us as Black conscious folks, we got to look at this stuff and see what it is, and not add any energy to it. So many people complaining about our status as African Americans in America. And it's just because we have no unity. We don't help each other out. We don't patronize each other. We don't have businesses to do that anyway. We don't have a lot of Black businesses where we can say, go shop here, go do this, go do that. So H&M or whoever could talk shit, racial slurs, do whatever they want. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to another store that's owned by another racist person. And that's the issue. That's why I said, we need to have our own businesses. You got a lot of people who got clothing stores, African Americans, they're storing clothing, sneakers, or what have you, but getting no support. And that's the issue. Everybody complaining about this person got money, white supremacy, or what have you, and you feeding the same white supremacists. You paying their bills, you giving them money. And then you rather look at a Black person that has a clothing line or putting out sneakers or trying to sell products or what have you, anything, and not give them a dime, talk bad about them, not really support them and understand that maybe, you have a lot of restaurants and places that Black people own they have issues, they have problems, but you can't just bash them, outright and just be like, well, this is wrong, this is why I don't support Black business, because this is messed up, they do this, instead of coming to them privately, personally, and saying, hey, this is wrong, I need to clear this up for other people to see it and start flipping out. This is what we don't do. We so quick to post something bad about about a Black person and just say, well, I don't fuck with them because they did this and because this is wrong, and not say to them like, hey, y'all need to straighten this out. This was what's wrong with my food. Get that together. I support Black business, but y'all got to get on point. We're not talking and communicating with each other and helping each other out in that kind of way. Everything don't have to be so negative. Yeah, I would be wrong if my food wasn't right too, but if it's a Black business, I understand what this company has to go through to survive. And if it's going to survive, it needs the community's help. It needs our help. So we can't be so quick to jump on them and just like bash them about, your food or your order being wrong. Or you got to talk to people. You got to communicate. It had to happen to me a bunch of times. If a DVD is late, I've gotten emails from people just flipping out. Oh, you a scammer. I knew I shouldn't have helped you, nigga. Da, 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 da. Flipping out, because a DVD is late for whatever reason. It could be a lot of things. But I never got the initial email saying, hey, respectfully, it's late, what's going on? Can you look into it? It's just immediate. You're a scammer, and I had to calm down, brother, sister, no problem. Here you go. Sorry for the mix up. Stuff happens. It's out of our control sometimes as business owners and people who run restaurants or what have you. But we as Black folks, we can't destroy each other that way. We gotta build, we gotta help out. And at least if you put that word in respectfully and say, hey, you need to address this. And, if they don't do that, then you can go ahead and post, pictures and comments about the restaurant or what have you. But you can't sit there and say, well, I don't support Black business because of this one Black business. That's just horrible. This is what we do to each other. This is why we are where we're at. We don't build any wealth. We don't have any businesses because we're not getting the support. You have Black Panther movie coming out that sold more tickets, more pre-sale tickets than any Marvel movie ever in history. Largely because of black folks, of course. And this is what we do. Where do you think that money's going? It's a fictional character. Fictional. And don't get me wrong, I tell you guys to watch Marvel because a lot of the stuff they're talking about has to do with us. But this is fiction we're talking about. So we're putting all this money in the hands of Disney. Disney owns Marvel. This white man, they're getting all that money from us. When a movie comes out, it's going to probably make history. And they're getting all that money from us. So now they're starting to branch off and put out other black superhero shows because they see it's a market now. It's going to start popping up. And we should have been got this stuff. But I'm really anxious to see how the movie does. I wouldn't really recommend seeing it as soon as it comes out. It's going to be crowded, one, but two, you just don't want to wish any bad luck on anybody. You just never know what might happen at one of these movie theaters when you have so many black people, coming together. Prime opportunity for some bullshit terrorist attack or something like that. So be careful if you're planning to go out and see this movie early. You definitely might want to wait, but I definitely want to see how they do it. Used to be into the comic books a long time ago. I remember the original Black Panther, long time ago. So I want to see how they do it. What is the movie really going to be talking about? We see, a lot of the previews. It looks good. But again, you have us spend so much money promoting the movie that it's not going to benefit the black community. We ain't getting a dime of that money, And that money that we spent on the pre-sale tickets of this Disney movie is not, it could have built 5 schools. And that's the problem. That's the issue. A lot of people want to jump on Dr. Umar, which, a lot of people I understand, don't agree, which I don't agree with a lot of stuff we talk about either. But just this, in this area, as far as a school for black boys, the man never got the money. He never got the money. So in that sense, I can't knock the situation because it's like, I understand how much it costs and what it's going to cost to build the school to do what he's trying to do. He need millions. So the fact that he didn't get the money and everybody jumping on him, what you do with the money? What you do? He never got the money. He didn't get enough. But Marvel did. Y'all made Marvel history. Disney getting millions. But your boys are not going to have adequate schools and is going to have problems in the future because you love to feed your oppressor more than your brother. So, be mindful. February's around the corner, Black History Month. I expect a lot of shenanigans and bullshit. It's already starting. So, don't really feed into this stuff. Just don't feed into it. Ignore it. And it's tough to do. I understand it's tough to do for some people. And some things is worthy of sharing, yeah. But if it's coming from the mainstream media, if it have to do with Donald Trump, it's like, come on. We know what it's hitting for already. It's like, let it go. Stop adding to that stuff. Plain and simple. And just really focus on you. Focus on yourself, being successful and doing something, becoming your own boss. And stop making these people rich. Stop feeding this beast that's oppressing us. Plain and simple. Get together with some friends, put together a plan. We need to start focusing more on being successful as individuals and stop feeding these musicians and hip hop stars and movie stars with all this money that's never going to help you out or us out. Entertainment, it's easy to come by these days. But the amount of money we give in the entertainment industry that's destroying us is just staggering. It's crazy. And then, we don't get what we need for our kids or for ourselves. So it's just stuff to really pay attention to look at. Politics going to be politics. Trump going to be Trump. I don't knock that whole situation because I know he don't run shit, just like Obama didn't run shit. Everybody's sitting around blaming Trump. The man don't control anything. He's a puppet, plain and simple. Everybody know that. He's in the right situation at the right time doing exactly what he's supposed to do for their agenda, which has always been to thwart us, to keep us oppressed, and to keep us from ever being successful. So if we trying to scream as a group, we need to, come together, this and that, they're going to keep hindering us. But if you personally worry about yourself, worry about your kids, and worry about whoever you can help, personally, then that's what we need to do. Make sure you are set, you are okay. If you do that, everything will be straight. Not everybody is going to be down with consciousness. You got a lot of religious people still floating around. Not gonna be able to help everybody. These are the people you need to just don't even waste your time with. Some of them are your family members, some of them laying in the bed next to you. It's tough. You can't just, I know a lot of people just want to say fuck their wife or husband and just forget about them. But if y'all can't come together mutually and at least agree to build as a couple and not, both of y'all working for the white man, working for the system, then that's crazy. Because y'all can't come together consciously, y'all can't even come together financially and do something that's going to benefit both of y'all in your future. So it's like, what's the point? If you're conscious, get out that situation and go build on your own. And a lot of people just don't have the know-how, and it's frustrating. So this is why we see so much hating. And we hate on each other because we're frustrated about what we can't do and what we don't know how to do, and how somebody else just seem to just jump on and just start making money real easy. And that's how we hate. This is how we hate. And I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've been, so many people hate on me, and it's just how it is. It's just one of those things you accept, and it's like, if you ain't getting hated on, you ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Somebody hating on you, you ain't doing nothing. And that's the thing. Somebody should be hating on you. You want to be doing stuff. You want to be successful. You want to look successful. You want to have successful things, because that's how you help people. You can't be a broke ass person walking around talking all this philosophical stuff and you ain't got shit. You work at the cheese factory. You work at the cracker factory, wherever. Like, be successful. Be your own boss. Stop letting these people take advantage of us and use our energy and consciousness and our youth, people. Come on, you're only young for a certain amount of time, and then by the time you're old, that's when you trying to chill. When you're old and you can't do nothing, you can't enjoy life. Focus on success. Get a hustle, get a hobby, figure out something, build wealth, help out your kids, make sure they're doing right, because they can be your ticket later on in some avenue. But definitely stop focusing on this Trump and this media and the crap that they're doing, and focus on you. That's really my main point for this video, to really focus on you. I see too many black people with talent, with smarts, and I'm listening to these situations and the messages that people send me, and I'm like, damn, how you end up here? You seem so successful, smart. Think about your own business and how you can do that and how you can build it. And I know it's going to be tough because you're not going to really get the support from the black community and from black people, but there's a lot of people out there that will support you if you present your stuff right and correctly. As long as you do that, it shouldn't be no problem. So, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. And thanks for supporting everybody who bought the new DVD that just came out today. A lot of people just bought it. That's what's up, because I have spent so much money and time to try to fight their censorship of my promotion. So I've been a little bit more successful in America than in the past, but it's costing a lot of money. But it's fine. Get the message out. It is what it is. And thanks for the support, people. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm working on a lot. I'm doing a lot of traveling coming up. My birthday is like next week, I believe, 28th. A lot going on. So, I'm going to be putting out a lot of videos coming up, and, you guys will see a lot more from me soon. So thanks for watching. See you guys next video.
What's upper?
What's cooking? What's cooking?
You already know.
Them boys knocked up back though.
It's over with.
It's lights out.
Baby, they outside playing the percolator. Outside playing her shit.
Trying to map this shit out over here. I'm looking at acorns and everything. I looked at first. I was looking at equipment and shit. Then I said, "Fuck that shit." I need to be flipping some money back. Not just flipping it back, but something that's building interest. Yeah, well, that shit add up. I don't want to invest in none of them damn white folks though.
Man, leave my fucking cord alone. That's
I just
yo people. I promise that from Chicago. I promise that's firecracker and okay.
Getting price on
I'm gonna send you the link to this document I found.
proof. Ancient transatlantic slave trade, sub-Saharan slave trade. It's so much more that happens. A big gap that is basically being, looked over. It's not being talked about enough. A lot of people are not really digging into the history of it to get people to a better understanding of what took place. Because we look back, and everybody know about this. We see the black gods of Asia. You see the black gods of India. And we know that, Krishna, and we know that Vishnu and all these black gods, we know about the Sambo and everybody like that. All these Hindu and Buddhist gods were black. They were worshipped as black gods. All the gods were worshipped as being black at some point in time. We need to understand what happened, what took place to where the culture basically got rid of all their black idols. And understand this too, if you travel a lot, you see that, especially since I go to Thailand a lot and in India as well, you see that the civilizations moved away from the ancient lands. That's another thing you got to understand. Why? You go back to different parts of like Thailand and India as well, Cambodia, they have the ancient ruins. And the space is basically really preserved for tourists and stuff like that. But you got to think, why wouldn't they want to live there? I mean, this stuff is beautiful, as you will see. Well, even if he was living primitively, if he was living off the land, why wouldn't you want to be near such beautiful history? And you got to understand why they disconnect with this history, why they disconnect with the indigenous people and what basically took place. It's so much, it's so crazy, it's so deep, and we're going to get into it. Let's begin. Now, here's the thing. You have scientists that have been in agreement, for hundreds of years about out of Africa. The majority believe in the theory, and we're going to prove the theory here today. It's going to get proven 100%. And they know the truth. It's easy to prove when you pay attention to real recorded history, but we're going to prove it. But now, remember, out of Africa theory, we know the Africans came up, they crossed the Red Sea, crossed into Saudi Arabia, crossed the Persian Gulf, into Iran, and traveled up to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Tibet, what have you, and eventually migrated over to Asia, Australia, what have you. This is the out of Africa theory. We understand this. So it is widely agreed upon that this is what took place. Now, another thing that's agreed upon is we understand these were African people. These were black people. So when you look at that migration and the fact that they traveled across, they set up civilizations and they kept moving, you understand that these were African people. So the question you have to ask yourself is, one, on an evolutionary scale, what happened to them? How did, these tribes become Indian with straight hair? Asian, looking totally different with the Mongoloid features. What happened? And then, of course, we understand this evolution. We understand we make all races. So that's one thing that you prove and understand in that. That's one of the things that you go back to and look and see, well, okay, we see what happened. This has been proven by science as I got into. So then you understand, one, remember, people like Dr. Ben, Azra Kwesi talked about how Egypt began, basically deep in Africa. They traveled up Kenya, Ethiopia, what have you. They traveled up the Nile into ancient Kemet. And you have to really understand, during that time, when they traveled up to ancient Kemet, they stopped. You had people that stopped. Some people was too old to continue on. Some people set up civilizations and stayed or what have you. And this took place, all the way up to Kemet. And this is documented. We can see, the writings they left. We can see artifacts that they left. Now, the thing is, I put up the video on human history, the origins of all the races. Now, when I did that video, I wanted to check and see exactly what the internet was basically saying about this, about traveling up, the whole out of Africa thing, the Andaman tribe and everything like that. Now, we understand that the Andaman, who basically is from, Indus Valley civilization, which is part of Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, we know that they are the descendants of the Africans that basically traveled over during this whole migration. The Andaman would be the descendants, and we see how they look, clearly black. Understand, we don't just have what we call, nappy hair or Negro hair, whatever they want to say. We had all kinds of hair. We had straight hair. We had curly hair. We had wavy hair. We have curly and wavy hair. We have a lot of different hair types, as you see clearly when you go in Africa. A lot of different hair types, a lot of different complexions that we can come in. So again, when I checked, wanted to make sure everything was matching up, from the books that I read, Ivan von Sertima, Anta Diop, everybody was saying the same thing. So when I looked, it said exactly the same thing. Yeah, these people basically come from, the descendants. They are the descendants of the Africans that migrated over to the Indus Valley. But now this has changed. They changed the answer to that, and you can go into Wikipedia and you can actually edit it if you have an account or what have you. So this is what it's saying now. It says, it was previously assumed that the Andaman ancestors were part of the initial Great Coastal Migration that was the first expansion of humanity out of Africa via the Arabian Peninsula, along the coastal regions of the Indian mainland and towards Southeast Asia, Japan, and Oceania. The Andamese were considered to be a pristine example of a hypothesized Negrito population which showed similar physical characteristics and was supposed to have existed throughout Southeast Asia. The existence of a specific Negrito population is nowadays doubted. Their commonalities could be a result of evolutionary convergence and or shared history. Now, what they're basically trying to say is they're not 100% sure that the Andaman are from Africa, which, come on, they try to put it in such a way to where they cast doubt on who these people really are. But again, who else would they be? Where else would they come from? You got to understand how subtle this stuff is. It's crazy. It's loopy. One, you got the whole out of Africa theory. What other race of people could they be? In India, in Asia, what could they be? Well, we know that Africans migrated over there. What could they be from? Now, they talk about commonalities and everything like that, meaning they look African. They think that they basically, came together based on convergence, meaning that you had a different group of people come together with another group of people to create the Andaman. It doesn't matter. You have Africans come together to make Africans, if that's the case they want to go against. No matter how you slice it, we're talking about African people. Now, let's be real here. You can take a car and you can drive from Cairo all the way over to Mumbai. Plain and simple. It's one big landmass. So you can't even be, skeptical about the Africans coming up out of Africa and traveling over, towards India when it's one mass, it's connected. And we don't know how much more connected it was back then. But you got to understand, it's going to be a lot of this kind of stuff we're going to see coming up, what they're trying to do. And to see that this is something new, that they changed this recently, is something that's real, it's alarming. It's like, okay, why would they change this? And you got to understand too, what you're going to get into about the Indian culture, everything that's going on in India, about why that thing is set up like that, why they deny their own people. We're going to get into that whole system because it's a crazy system that's ancient that's taking place in India. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. We're going to get into it.
This is what I was
But
kind of
remember,
getting into the other day
you
or
that's
yesterday, I think.
and a lot of other
I think
researchers.
this was yesterday. It was yesterday you were talking.
Yeah, with kind of Kush going, I mean, or Nubia going all the way up into India. And see, and not to interrupt, but real quick, one of the key factors in it, and that's how the Rock Nation got started in the first place with the Canaanite thing, was the left behind, the left behind Nubians get conquered. You know what I'm saying? Like and you just like the way the Bible reads out, you can see how the conquering happened clean. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's hard to really explain. Like, not saying that like, oh, it was Israelites that came, but under that banner, the story is told under the banner of Israelites. But the amalgamation of people that came and took over India, they first started in the Indus Valley, taking over India. Then they come down into the Levant. Then they take over Egypt. Then they go down all the way down Canaan, and then get into Ethiopia, and then from there. That shit's fucking crazy.
Real history.
They know their stuff. Talk about, hey, we came up from inner Africa. Plain and simple. So when they talk about, the cradle of civilization began probably somewhere around Ethiopia, Kenya, what have you, it all fits, especially when you find ancient proof. Ancient stuff that we see in Kemet, older in Ethiopia. So it's just proving the point all the way up to now. We can see where these people come from. So my suggestion is when they got up to Kemet, from my research, the pyramids was already there. They was there already. So again, you see how they tell us our history begins with this out of Africa. It's so much more before that. Again, that's what I always keep saying. It's like history begins with Kemet, and we don't know what the hell took place before that. Something happened, as I talked about in the Saturn Satan series, and then all of a sudden, it's like we woke up, and then, okay, they had this notion, travel. For some reason, they knew to go north. For some reason, they knew to travel up north to get to Kemet for whatever reason. It was in their head. You had one primary group of people who had the goal to get up to Kemet because they knew something. And then you got to understand, remember, we see the information, we see the stuff they left traveling up the Nile. Everything that we see in Kemet, we see they was leaving proof of this stuff, that they already had this knowledge. So we're talking about they started the journey knowing this stuff already. How did they know? And they got to Kemet, and to me, from my research, those pyramids was there. The Great Pyramids was already there, and they were trying to reconstruct them. Now, to me, again, yeah, we descend from whatever civilization that was, whatever people that was, that built them. Because these are things you got to really take into consideration. Where did they get the information from? There's no computers. How did they know? Why was everybody coming to them for information? So you got to understand what they're trying to do, how they're trying to switch it. Now, this gets really deep. It's a whole bunch of history we're going to get into. So now here's the thing that you're going to find out when you start doing this research, when you start looking into that time period, because I know a lot of you do your own research as you're supposed to. But what you're going to find, same as I did and other people as well, that's going to hit you hard, and a lot of people got confused by this, you're going to find out a lot of researchers are saying that Egypt basically created or started by the Indians. You're going to see this a lot. You're going to see this in Indian culture. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about already. They believe that, the out of Africa theory happened. They went to India first and set up a civilization there. And it was that civilization that came back over to Kemet to set up Kemet. And, you have a lot of people in India believe this, that, we set up ancient Kemet and everything like that. No, it's not the case. Now, the ancient Egyptians talked about going to Punt. They talked about traveling the Great Sea, crossing the Great Sea to get to Punt. Now, according to researchers, Punt is supposed to be Somalia. Now, the thing is, Punt can't be Somalia because of the plants they describe when they're talking about this, because of the animals they describe. These animals and plants only fits the western coast of India. It doesn't fit Somalia. So again, we know the ancient Egyptians traveled all the way to America based upon, they found cocaine in Ramses II, stomach and everything like that, plants and fruits that only could be found in the Americas. So we know if they traveled all the way to the Americas, it's really, of course, they probably traveled to India. But then you got to think back to the migration. You got to think back to, these people exploring. Of course, if you went up to Ethiopia, Somalia, and you started boating. Once they set up civilization there and they got sea vessels built and they knew how to, cross the seas, it's a lot easier to cross over, to India, on a boat, on a ship, than to, go by land, because then you got to cross, so much land, you don't know what's out there. And then not sure if Saudi Arabia was desert back then or was it fertile, what have you. But either way, you still get to India faster. To get to India much faster on boat. You just get there quicker. So, of course, they probably was doing this. And as Herodotus attests to, that the ancient Egyptians, they could boat their ass off. They was good. So the thing is, now, the Indians did not, of course, travel from India up into to Kemet. Their journey straight from Ethiopia was to go straight to Kemet, and you had other people branch off. The Egyptians understanding, people went to India, and if you settled in Ethiopia, you knew at some point, family members or friends did boat or travel across to India, and, they would trade with each other. They would go back and forth and see each other or what have you. Just normal stuff took place. If your cousin moved to California, yeah, I'm going to go see my cousin. Hop on the plane and go see him. Same thing. But, they took boats, of course. But the thing is this. So you have the Greeks. You have the ancient Egyptians talking about the Indians. They had a name for the Indians. They called them the Dravidians, which we already know. They were referred to as the Dravidians. Now, the Egyptians and the Greeks both called them Dravidians, but they knew the Dravidians as Ethiopians. That's what they knew them as. They knew them as Ethiopians. So the Dravidian people, which would consist of, we're talking Dravadian is also a language. It consists of, Afghanistan, they speak it, Pakistan, India, the Maldives, they speak it in Sri Lanka, all the way over to Cambodia. So we're talking about a lot of people. We're talking about, these are African people. They spoke this language, but they were called Ethiopians. Remember, the Bible talks about Ethiopia. As soon as you get into Genesis, it's talking about Ethiopia. And that's the first, basic place they're naming. So remember, at one point, all of Africa was called Ethiopia, which Ethiopia comes from the Greek. It means burnt face. But everybody who basically described the Africans, if they wasn't saying Negrito, they was calling them Ethiopians. And you got to understand, the Egyptians think, what name would they call them? They wasn't calling them black people, or, they had a name for them, just because you black and I'm black, you might be from, Chicago, they might call you Chicago. You might be from New York, they might call you New York. You're not from where I'm from, so I'm not going to call you that. I could call you whatever I want to call you, but this is what they call people that wasn't from Kemet. They called them Ethiopians. It just so happened to be what the Greeks called them as well. In translation, we know it was a different name, but you translate it, this is what they was talking about. So understand, it's the same people. The same people. So don't get confused when you're doing your research. This is one of the things that we're going to really touch on, because they want to try to make it like these are two separate people. And there's a reason for that, which we're going to get into. It's not. It's the same. You had the Ethiopians travel over to India and establish civilizations there, and then keep on moving west into Japan, China, and eventually, of course, Australia. So now, as I was saying, how the Greeks and the Egyptians called the Indians the Dravidians, and they knew them as the Ethiopians, plain and simple. So you had another group that was known in India called the Vedoids or the Vedoids. They were the Australoids or the Australians, the indigenous people of Australia. Now, again, as I talked about, the migration pattern that happened, they had relatives. People knew that they left people and civilizations in other countries. So when they left and crossed from Ethiopia over to India, years may pass, 10 years, 20 years, or what have you. Those civilizations understood that they knew people in another land and would travel back and forth. No different from down with the Australoids, with the Australians. They would travel up. And if you look at a map, you can see it's a straight shot almost back up to India that they could travel by boat or go by land. Now, this is how they differentiated the Indians or the Vedoids from the Dravadians. And basically, when you look at them, they almost look the same skin tone, of course, dark skin. But the Australoids had basically curly, wavy hair, and the Indians had straight hair. And again, this is the same thing that Diodorus attests to. This is what he talks about. He says that the only way you could tell a difference between the Africans, the Indians, what have you, is because of the hair. The hair may be different. That's how they told them apart. That's because some had straight hair, some had curly hair, some had wavy hair. This is how they told them apart. But again, they were melanated people, dark skin, burnt. In some cases they would call them, burnt skin. It's just what was known about the people and how they described them. So, it's crazy that, so much happened. You had all these civilizations worshiping black gods. Everybody worshiping black gods until you basically had an invasion of the Europeans come in and change things. And there's no way in the world, understanding what we understand and knowing this history, that we should be debating what color was the Egyptians. There's no way in the world, if people understood the history that's out there, that's proven, because these people left artifacts, they left civilizations, they left graves. We can still find this stuff. The stuff is still there. There's no way in the world we should be debating what color was the Egyptians. It should be no Indian person talking down to a darker skinned person. It shouldn't be. It's where you came from. And you got to understand what took place. I got some Indian friends. I hope they watching this video so they can understand their history, because from what we talked about, these dudes is lost. Y'all lost. And one of the reasons why I want to do this video, so you can understand, it's crazy how you got to tell people about their own history. They should know it. And a lot of people want to avoid the past because it deals with racism. It's consumed with racism, and that's part of an agenda that we got to look into and understand. This stuff is deep, as we'll get into in a second, but you got to understand what took place. A major thing took place that we're going to talk about. Now, Herodotus says in Herodotus book 2, he said that the ancient Egyptians had burnt skin, flat noses, thick lips, and woolly hair. This is how he described them. As I talked about what Diodorus said, the only way you could tell them apart sometimes is by the hair, but they're basically, dark skin. Now, Diodorus also said that, he said the name Nile seems connected with the Indian term Nihilus black. Again, we're going to keep finding this connection between the Egyptians and India. This is a huge thing a lot of people don't understand. Now, one of the reasons why people don't understand, because it has been so well covered up for a huge reason. Now, the thing is, when they went into the tomb of Ramses III, they found his maps and they found his notes. Now, on his maps, he had India marked as Egyptian territory. Now, one of the ways we can prove this is you got to understand, one, remember, you had Alexander the Great, or what have you. Remember, they invaded Kemet, took it back from the Persians, took it from the Persians. Now, remember how Alexander died. How did he die? He died in Iraq and Mesopotamia. Remember, he died in Mesopotamia on his way back from where? India. What was he doing in India? Why was he in India? Why was he on his way back from India to Mesopotamia? And this is why you got to understand, one, when they conquered the Egyptian land, you had to conquer in India and set up there, because India was a part of their territory, just like Israel. They're not talking about it for a huge reason, because they're trying to steal. And we're going to get into this. They're trying to steal a lot of history. They're trying to cover up what they did. And they can't, because the history is there and so many people wrote about it. Herodotus and Diodorus, they still want to give big ups to their scholars and researchers and what have you. But, them two alone poke a lot of holes in, the story, which really is not no official story from the Europeans. They just don't talk about shit. To hide it, they just don't talk about it. They don't teach, they don't talk, they don't say nothing. Since they own mainstream media, and they're not going to put it on mainstream media, it is left up to speculation. It's left up to the imagination for people to wonder and ponder, did this stuff really happen? But when you go based upon proven facts in history, you see clearly this is basically what took place. that it's a huge connection between ancient Kemet and India and that whole Indus Valley and everything that was taking place there. And it's something that happened that they're trying to cover up. Now, one of the things that's going to really bother you and really, really stick out to you is, why? Why would these people, let their ancestors go to hell like that? Why would you disrespect your ancestors, the people who are the reason for you having your civilization? And it's one of the things that I really just scratch my head so much. It's like, wow, all across the board. You look at in India, you look at Pakistan and everything like that. If you're dark skinned, you're put down. Now, the thing is, what does this have to do with Buddhism? What does it have to do with Buddha or what have you? Now, the problem is this. When you look up, when did Buddhism start? It says clearly here, 5th century BCE, as I highlighted. Now, when you look at when did Hinduism start, it says 1500 BC, Hinduism starting before Buddhism. Now, Hinduism developed from the religion that the Aryans brought to India with them in about 1500 BCE. That's all I'm going to read. Hinduism developed from the religion that the Aryans, had to highlight it, brought to India with them in about 1500 BCE. Now, understand what Siddhartha was a Hindu, and Siddhartha, created Buddhism, Buddha, what have you. So, of course, Hinduism would be before Buddhism because Siddhartha was a Hindu prince. So that part makes sense. The part that sticks out, of course, as you know, Aryans. What do you mean Aryans brought, Hinduism into India? And the thing is, we're talking about the same Aryans, white people, the same white race. How Hitler and all that stuff, what it was all about, Aryan race, white people. This is what you got to understand what took place. It was an invasion, and I touched on this way back. Aryan, it says, relating to or denoting a people speaking an Indo-European language who invaded northern India in the 2nd millennium BC, displacing the Dravidian and other Aboriginal people. Telling you clear as day. Yeah, they came in there, basically took over. These Indo-Europeans. What is an Indo-European? Let's look. It says, the Indo-European languages have a large number of branches: Anatolian, Indo-Iranian, Greek, Italic, Celtic, Germanic, Armenian, Tocharian, Balto-Slavic, and Albanian. I guess they wanted to put Indo-Iranian there, to sound exotic, but you have Proto-Indo-Iranian, which basically means common Aryan, plain and simple. So all the same people, when you look at it, we're talking about Europeans, white people, that basically came in, I'm telling you clear as day, they came in and took over, and we got to understand the change that happened once they took over. Now here's the thing, and some of y'all smart enough to understand this. One, think about the time frame, the time period. We're talking about 1500 BCE. When you understand the nature of Buddhism and what it's talking about on a spiritual level, what it's really getting into. If the Aryans came into North India with that information, with that knowledge already in 1500 BCE, there is no way they would need to come into Egypt for any knowledge. They wouldn't need it. They would know it already. The Greeks talk about, Herodotus and Thales, Diodorus, all of these Greek scholars and Greek philosophers. Everybody came into Kemet to learn. If they had that knowledge already and brought it into northern India, we wouldn't be talking about what we're talking about now. They would have never needed Kemet. Because when you break down the Buddhist faith, which we're going to get into it and break it down, it is basically talking about what the Egyptians talked about. Plain and simple. It's just switched up into different gods, different stories, talking about the same exact stuff. Plain and simple. And if they understood that and it was the ones who brought it there, clear outright lie you just saw on Wikipedia, Google, or what have you. If they brought it there, they wouldn't need to come into Kemet or learn or to know anything. They would have had the knowledge. So again, this is how they trying to take over and say that they They had this knowledge, they came in there, they understood this stuff, when clearly there's no way they could have really understood it. The Egyptians taught a lot of esoteric information, a lot of esoteric knowledge that only certain people will understand. And to have a faith like Hinduism and Buddhism that is wrapped up in that same kind of knowledge, for you to bring it in means you are a smart people. Now understand, when they came in to northern India, they basically invaded, and they invaded the Indus Valley and started enslaving people. They also invaded West Ethiopia, the shoreline, all across there. The first boats that pulled up and started really enslaving Africans was over there in Ethiopia. Before the whole transatlantic slave trade, we talk about that. We talk about the sub-Saharan, but it's a huge slave trade that took place with the Africans before all that. And it happened with the Ethiopians. And they enslaved them. They enslaved the people in the Indus Valley. And they set up a system of oppression that unbelievably still exists today in India. Once they have control of the government and the system, and then they leave, and people think, okay, well, we got to worry about these people coming back. So again, you can set up policies and rules, and you can be like, well, something is wrong with the dark-skinned people. They are evil. The light-skinned people tend to do things better. These dark-skinned people from the ancient times, they only know the ancient ways. They are evil, da-da-da. And they can make up whatever kind of situation that they want to control the people. And this is basically what took place and what they did. So what you will have is, order out of chaos. Once they have control of the government, they can come in and offer a solution to the problem that they created. So now the people who are left after this tragedy or war, what have you, they're sitting around thinking that, okay, our government is going to do what's in the best interest of the people. And then that never happens. And they can never figure out why it seems like the government is going away from the people. And they don't realize that their government and their government officials and all their leaders have basically been taken over, and they are now under control of the same enemy they just got finished fighting. So now we got to think back to Adolf Hitler. And then you got to start understanding what's the whole Aryan thing about. And everybody heard, white power, Aryan race, everything. But a lot of people didn't understand the history. In the course of my research, what led me to the conclusion that you're going to get at the end of this DVD was following this line of research. And that's why you follow research all the way through, because it leads you to so many different places, so many different worlds and discoveries and new books and so much new information when you follow a path completely. And I'm talking about not just learning a couple things about a specific subject, but following everything about it, what people said, what they wrote, who wrote what's the most important thing about it, so on and so forth. So now in part one, we talked about how the Aryans, came down, how they basically took over northern India, the Indus Valley, what have you, how they, claimed to create Hinduism and everything like that, about the whole caste system and how that was set up by the Europeans or the Aryans. And we got into all that information now. So now this basically really goes back to Akhenaten, believe it or not. So Akhenaten's father was Amenhotep III, but his father-in-law was Tushratta. Now Tushratta was basically the king of the Mitanni tribe in Mesopotamia. So Mitanni and Mesopotamia, it's something that you're going to find a lot when you really start digging into this information. You'll hear about them. Now, the thing is, they don't know exactly what the Matani tribe was, what race they were. They believe they were mixed race. A lot of tribes back then was, of course. But the Matani tribe was a warrior tribe. And the whole thing with the Matani tribe and what they found in Mesopotamia is they found Indian gods. So they found Indra, Midra, and Varun. So when they found these deities in Mesopotamia, they are, of course, not Mesopotamian gods. So the thing is, they figured, well, the language that these gods was written in Mesopotamia was in an Indo-Aryan language. So they figured that the Indo-Aryans created it or wrote it because, it's dated so long ago. So, of course, this is many reasons why you can find Indian gods in Mesopotamia. It could be, Indians traveling to Kemet who stopped and wrote something down. The information that they're giving us can be completely bogus. There's a lot of different excuses and reasons why they could have found what they found. But when you understand about these gods and their aspects, and again, as I always say, they expect you not to do no research, then you can understand the truth about these gods. So you got to really look at language. And of course, when you start finding stuff language-wise, you can't always, if it's not the first language, you can't always trace it back to those people. You got to make sure, especially if they was travelers, that they didn't pick it up from somewhere else, because it could very well have been written by an Aryan person, by a white person. They could have written it, but they could have picked it up while they was in India. They could have picked it up on their travels from India to Kemet or to wherever. So these are things you got to take into context, and you can't just, this is one of the things they use to give the Aryans claim over Hinduism, but you can't just use stuff like this and just jump all over it and give them claim to a major, faith because of something like this. So now, the date of these writings about these Indian gods goes back to the 14th century BCE. Now, prior to that, we don't find any Aryan writings, of these gods or really any type of gods. We don't find writings from Aryans about the gods that we know of. So, it's another reason why you can just kill that whole argument. And again, when these Aryans were traveling, it was picking up stories. And again, not all Aryans was in on conquest. Some of them was actually trying to fit in and just, start a family. Now, again, when you're doing your research and you start looking and finding these points or these civilizations or tribes where either the writer is saying we don't know the race, or they tell you straight out we don't know, the race of these people, or there was mixed race, or Berber and stuff like that, the names they put out there, then this is, especially when it's pertaining to Mesopotamia and in that area, this is where you have the creation of the Persians and Arabs, plain and simple. This is where you see that those races being created, because what's happening is, when you look at the area of the Persians, where the Persians was ruling at, you can see that this is basically the Indus Valley. This is what the Indus Valley was at. So you have, Mesopotamia, you have, of course, Afghanistan, you have Pakistan, you have northern India, and this was basically the Persian territory for a while. We know it encompasses the Indus Valley. So what was happening was these Aryans was coming down and mixing with the northern Indians and creating what we know as Persians and Arabs. Now, just like the Chinese, who don't want to be compared with the Japanese or the Koreans or what have you, Persians don't like to be compared with Arabs and vice versa. But for the most part, this is where it was created. You had different civilizations mixing them with Africans, mixing them with the Indians, the Aryans coming down, and it was just mixing and creating tribes. And this is why you find a lot, and they don't always like to point this out, of course. This is where you find a lot of these tribes that they can't describe what race they was. When they talk about the Hittites, who was the Hittites? There was a mixed race. Some people would just flat out say, well, they was black, mostly black. But then others would say like the Hyksos and the Hittites probably was a mixed race or predominantly black or something like that. This is where you have the creation of the Persians and the Arabs and them beginning their conquest. And eventually, the Persians did create, a vast empire that ruled, for a long time. Of course, the Persians defeated the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, when they came into Kemet. So this is where all that stuff started. So when you start seeing that, you start to understand that this is all a part of the Aryans coming down, conquering in northern India, and basically just spreading out and really creating this agenda to take over. Now, you got to think about it. Even still, when you come down in a mixed race, and then it keep happening, and you have all these people, and then you have these tribes start forming. Of course, you know, they still gonna kind of feel like outcasts, like they need to start, you know, their own civilization as being mixed people. Because, you know, before then, of course, Africans and then the Asians took over most of the lands, and we already set up civilizations. And all was left really was the hottest places nobody wanted to be, which you could say Mesopotamia, you know, the Middle East or what have you. So that's what they had left to basically take. And of course, the Aryans didn't want to stay up in the cold too much longer. They wanted to come down and basically take from the civilizations they had already established so much. So the Aryans was coming down and mixing with the civilizations. Remember, I talked about the Mani in my video on YouTube about the origins of all the races. And you can see the Mani, which is the indigenous people of Thailand. Remember, they had afros. Yeah, well, they still have afros. These people still exist to this day. When you look at these indigenous people, it's the same thing when you go to like Cambodia, you go to China and Japan, you have dark-skinned Asians still exist to this day, especially in Japan, especially in Thailand with the Mani, and they have an afros. You can see it clear as day. You can see a lot of them look like black people, but we can see, you know, what happened when you look at the Thai people today and the Chinese and Japanese today. They have straight long hair because of the Aryans coming down and mixing in. Now, to me, when I researched this thing and looking at this whole thing, to me, this was a coordinated attack on melanin. From the woolly hair, the blackness, the representation of power, melanin, into, you know, the straight hair. So that's basically what took place. To me, it was something that they had to understand and know. Now, they did this because, you know, they wanted to basically get in power. And once they got in power, we seen the disappearance of the black gods from the ancient world. Remember, they gone. They got rid of them. And we're seeing the rise of these, you know, white gods, these unseen gods. And, you know, when you look at Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and Vishnu, when you look at Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, all that, these are all gods that's here to basically cover up the black gods, to hide the black gods, to reduce them to a level of secrecy that you can only discover their true origins and identity in secret societies. And that's basically what took place. That's basically what happened. You had all these governments basically get in on this because they themselves are in these secret societies and want to rise up in ranks. So they had to do their part. And again, you have to understand that one ruler at the top, he only think about himself. There is no way you can have one man representing an entire kingdom and not have a set of rules that's basically going to really govern him and limit his power as far as the effect he can have on the entire kingdom. You can't get that power to one person. But when you look at a president and people that had this power to do so much, I know we got a Senate and what have you, but the president has executive orders, so he can basically do what he wants. So these people, these rulers have basically sold their people out, and it's going to make a lot of sense later. They sold them out. So you had these people, the Aryans come down, mix in, weaken the nations, and basically leave, because the more melanin they had, the more stronger, the more tough they would be to conquer and fight. And they understood this. Somebody at the top understood this. I'm telling you, when you do the research, you're going to understand that. So they basically wanted to weaken them. They want them to not understand that this is about melanin, that this goes back to the black gods and what the black gods is really about, which we're going to get into in this video as well. They didn't want the people to understand that, so they took it away. They took it away because it leads to the understanding of melanin and the understanding of Kundalini energy and what all that stuff is about. Now, when you go and you look at, you know, China, Thailand, all these Asian countries, they represent the dragon. They celebrate the snake, the serpent, and the dragon. You see it all throughout Asia, celebrated. They have the year of the dragon, you know, in China. I mean, it's just a big celebration. So a lot of these people celebrate, you know, and they celebrate, you know, the dragon, they celebrate the serpent. And a lot of them don't really understand what this stuff's about. And a lot of them have no clue that it goes back to melanin and black gods. getting back to this part, understand, of course, they sold out. They sold the people out, these rulers in these Asian countries, India as well. And they sold them out because they understand that these religions go back to the understanding of melanin and real true spirituality. But anybody who has learned or who really does research can easily look at these gods, and when you start reading about them and understanding what they represent and their stories, you can clearly trace them back to Kemet. So, of course, if everybody in these countries understood that, wait a minute, these religions go back to Kemet, they will look more deeply into Kemet. They will look more deeply into the Egyptian mystery school and Egyptian teachings, and will understand, about melanin, about true spirituality, about what this stuff is all about. And that's not what they want, of course. So when you go and dig into this stuff, I was talking about before how they went into Mesopotamia. This is 14th century BCE. They found these artifacts, they found these writings pertaining to Indian gods, and the writings are dating back to 14th century BCE. So one of the gods they found was Indra. Indra, which is an Indian god. Now this is Indra. Let me read this. It says, Indra, in Hindu mythology, the king of the gods. Remember that, the king of the gods. He is one of the main gods of the Rig Veda, which is basically a Vedic Sanskrit writings, and is the Indo-European cousin of the German Wotan, Norse Odin, Greek Zeus, and Roman Jupiter. Now understand that Indo-European, how they try to blend it in with these white gods. So you have Indra, the king of the gods. Osiris is king of the gods. You have Osiris's mother, who is Tefnut. She is queen of the gods. You have Indra's mother, who is Aditi, who is also queen of the gods. You have Indra being the brother of Agni. Agni means fire. You have Osiris being the brother of Isis. Isis is the goddess of elements, one of them being fire. She is a solar deity. You have Indra being the defender of Dharma, which is basically the cosmic law and order. You have Osiris being defender of Ma'at, which is cosmic law and order. You have reference to Indra being the bull. You have the Vedic hymn to Indra, the bull. And we have Osiris Apis. We have Asar Happy, which is where we get Apis. And Apis is where we get, Asar Apis, where we get Serapis. And we know that Asar goes to the bull. It's represented as a bull in a lot of depictions. So you have Indra being represented by a bull. You have Asar or Osiris being represented by a bull. You had Indra, who has 14 lifespans. You have Osiris, who was chopped up in 14 pieces. I can go on and on and on. So many comparisons that you can do between Indra and Osiris. You also have Rudra and Yama, who are kings of the netherworld, just like Osiris. You have Seti, who was basically chopped up like Osiris, except, Seti was chopped up in 54 pieces. So we can go through a lot of the Hindu gods and compare them to Osiris, and it's for a reason that it's Osiris, which we'll get into. But you can compare so many of the stories, Krishna, Vishnu, which we'll talk about later. A lot of these gods you can look at and see how they compare with Egyptian gods, and that the two go hand in hand in a lot of different ways. It is no way around it. It's almost laughable to scholarship to me. When you look at it, it's like, what do they expect? This is why I say to people, I always use this phrase, only people in third world countries will believe that, because they must don't have access to the right kind of information. Anybody who does this stuff, who was into this stuff, long ago, they probably thought they can get away with it, and they kind of trying to make up for it now with the distractions with entertainment. But when you just starting to really get into this information and read about it, it's really easy, it's plain to see. But they leave this stuff for the people in secret societies, because they will ultimately come to the true understanding of what it all means, which you're going to understand at the end of this video. So they leave this information for them. It's not for us, as I keep saying. The Bible is not for you to understand the true hidden meaning of it, which we're going to get into that a little bit too. It's not meant for you. It's meant for them in the secret society. This is why it is at the altar of every Masonic lodge throughout the world, the Bible, the Torah, the Quran. Why is there nothing about Buddhism Hinduism. We're going to get into that as well. It'll make a lot of sense. You got to understand what this stuff represents and how it goes back to the solar god, the sun. It goes back to melanin and kundalini rising. And this is very important in understanding this stuff because it's everything. And I talked about in part 1 about the was staff and the jet pillar of Osiris, the serpent, and how that, corresponds with the Shiva Linga, what that whole thing was about. So it's another thing that we can compare with Hinduism and see its relation to the Egyptian teachings. Now, when we look at Brahma is associated with Harani Agrabah. And Harani Agrabah is the cosmic egg or the golden womb. Now, where else do we find a cosmic egg? We find it with Ptah. We find a cosmic egg or the Agdod, which we got into previous video. Now, they just basically gave it away right there with the cosmic egg. I could have just started off with the cosmic egg and just left it at there. Cosmic egg, and we got a cosmic egg in Kemet with Ptah, same stuff it's talking about. So again, this stuff just goes back. When you know this stuff, I know I've been spitting it out and giving it to you in video, so it's just easy information you got, but you got to understand how fortunate you are to have the mindset to want to seek after this information. To millions and billions of people, this is mush. This is stuff they have absolutely no clue about, but you guys understand it when you know about the Agdod. So when you see this in Hinduism, wait a minute, they got a cosmic egg too. That's the same thing in Kemet. It's easy for you to put together when you get into this stuff. So, that's basically, we can understand it's coming from Kemet, and then we get Hinduism, and it's many reasons why that happened. Of course, they was going back and forth. So now with Buddhism, let's get into Buddhism, because what Buddhism basically did, Buddhism basically took the physical and spiritual aspect of it all, the truth of it all, and basically give it to you in a better understanding, a more simple understanding. Understanding, Buddhism and everything is talking about, it's just, when you just break it down, it's just so simple to where you can really just understand where Buddha is coming from, where Siddhartha is coming from. So we know the story real fast. Siddhartha basically, born and, a prince, and basically wanted to get out the palace and finally got let out. And he was basically going around to basically see what the king, what the people was like. And he saw, the 4 sightings. The 4 sightings, which was, old man, he saw death, he saw disease, and he saw the old man basically singing and having fun. Those 4 sightings led to the 4 noble truths. And the 4 noble truths is, there is suffering. Plain and simple. Suffering is caused by desire. Third one is that desire or suffering doesn't have to be. If you denounce desire, you can get rid of suffering. And a fourth one is basically there is a way to get rid of desire by following the eightfold path, or the 8 path. And the eightfold path is basically, it has to deal with meditation. Now, following the eightfold path, that's basically dealing with thoughts, understanding, speech, action, livelihood, efforts, concentration, and mindfulness. So dealing with these 8 things, this is the eightfold path, and you follow the eightfold path, which basically leads you into karma. It's dealing with karma. Now, following the eightfold path will determine whether or whether not you have karmic consequences, and having karmic consequences is not a good thing. If you can go through life with no karmic consequences, this is what they call the last birth or the last life, where you basically reach nirvana. Now, there's basically 2 states of nirvana, one in life and one in death. And nirvana basically mean, getting rid of desire. It means to extinguish. And every Buddhist strives to reach nirvana. Now, if you don't reach nirvana, you die, basically still in desire and still with this kind of, what they call sins as far as Buddhism, you basically reincarnate. That's basically what happens to you. Now, we talked about reincarnation before, and, a lot of people don't believe in it, but you got to understand, if you really pay attention to Buddhism, if you really get into this stuff, this is why this stuff is far out in Tibet and far out in these countries where, a lot of people just don't really care what goes on there. They basically prove reincarnation. I mean, to me, they proved it. Now, with reincarnation, basically what they did as far as proving it is when a person dies, when they die, and then they come back. They have a system of finding them, of finding out if they are the person that died. So if you really read a lot of books on Buddhism and understand in Tibet about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they have a Buddhist Book of the Dead, just like, the Egyptians have the Egyptian Book of the Dead that I did the video on. It's the same thing. And this book is basically to guide you through reincarnation, or guide you through death until reincarnation. So in Buddhism, they believe after you die, if you do reincarnate, you will reincarnate after 45 days and you'll come back. So that kind of gives them this time limit so they can understand if somebody was pregnant, 45 days after that person's death, and they have a system where they can find out if you reincarnated. And they can do that by being in these little small towns that they in. You go into Tibet, it's like small villages. It's not so many people. So everybody knows everything. Everybody knows each other's business. It's nothing like the cities we grew up in. So of course, they know when a person just had a baby and where the timeline adds up at. And then sometimes the baby or the child, when it's a little bit older, they'll find out that they have a birthmark, the same birthmark in the same spot as the person that died. Or I would have traits of somebody who died. And since everybody know each other, the person will pick up on it like, hey, you remind me of such and such. In a lot of cases, like these kids, they be talking about people they shouldn't know exist, that came from a past life and things like that. So once they have a person, they have a child that they believe reincarnated, they put them through a test. So the test, once they realize who they think the person is, they'll take that person's effects, the stuff that they had when they was alive, and they'll put it with a bunch of other stuff. And I'm telling you, the kid will walk in the room and go straight to the item and pick it up. Tell them choose one, and I'll pick it up. So then, okay, it could be a coincidence, so they'll tell them to choose another. And in these cases, a lot of times, the child will choose every single item as the person that they thought they reincarnated as. So that person's affects, all his items that he had when he came back and reincarnated as this child, the child will go and pick out all the items out of a bunch of items, pick them all out. And then they would know that, hey, yeah, it is him. You reincarnated, you made it, and then, through reincarnation, once they find out and confirm that this was a person that once was here, it's a big celebration. And it's a celebration because the person actually made it through reincarnation. And I know the whole thing really is about, not reincarnating. It's basically a sin, but you got to understand, to make it back here in the physical form as a human is still a big thing. Now, also with reincarnation, a person could reincarnate, across the country. You could have relatives in other countries that you don't understand. How we do DNA tests and you realize you got people that you descend from another country. So you can also reincarnate across countries, across, cities and towns, not just within the same town. And we see that a lot where people reincarnate across country. And of course, you can't find people that way. It's harder. So understanding the 4 sightings, the 4 noble truths, and the 8-fold path, all this stuff is the same as the path to Osiris. That's basically what this is. When you look at A.O.I's Book of the Dead, you can see basically it's the same type of concept. So in Buddhism, when it's talking about suffering being caused by desire and to rid yourself of desire, in ancient Egypt, they say, rise above your animal instinct, because that's basically what desire is. Desire is lower brain. So now when you look at the whole 8-fold path and how that can basically lead you to having no karmic consequences, and you need to have no karmic consequences in order to go further, to reach nirvana, it's basically the same as Ani in the Book of the Dead, when he basically, goes and gives the 42 negative confessions. So no negative confessions, 42 negative confessions. He's saying basically, I have not done any of that, just like I have no karmic consequences.
Yeah, brother Big O. Yeah, I've been watching him for a while, man. You say he used a lot of Google scholarship. I guess if you just watch the YouTube videos, but if you he does it as quick references. But if you actually get the DVDs, he show you the sources because even if you Google something, there's a chain of information that goes back to a source. He shows you the books and canon. He shows you sources. He shows you sources on the full DVD. But he does do quick references on Google. Brandon, it's just me and you, huh? And Brandon out of that, cause he got that boy. That's what's up. Oh, it is Friday, and everybody gotta go outside for the coronavirus, and you know, make sure they go party it up and spread it. You know, everybody gotta make sure they do their job, man. Make me some more motherfucking fries, bitch. Hey, well, love y'all.